Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I am super excited to share something special with you today. This is my Papercraft Society special subscription box. This is box 42. And for those who are not familiar with Papercraft Society, it is a monthly subscription service. And each month a different fabulous designer gets to design for you an absolutely brilliant collection that has not only the contents to make the projects, but a handy little booklet as well. So you can get more details if you visit papercraftsociety.co.uk or you pop on over to craftstash.co.uk. And last month was the fabulous Chloe, so make sure you check out her. She was subscription box 41. And as I said, you can have various options for subscription. There's a month-to-month, a 3-monthly subscription, a 6-monthly subscription, or even a yearly subscription. And with each of these subscriptions, obviously, the more you sign up for it, the more you will save. So do check that out. So let's take a look at my box. So the design reflects what's in the box, obviously, for myself, which will be working with florals. So all of the boxes are this size. So it's a great little box for storing all your crafty bits. On the side there, we've hashtag Papercraft Society. Use that when you're tagging. And on the back then is the website address, papercraftsociety.co.uk, and some safety information for you. So the box itself, then we're going to pop it open and have a look at the contents. All of the subscription boxes come with two kind of elements. So the first one you will see at the front there is this absolutely gorgeous little pocket wallet that contains some absolutely fabulous crafting goodies that we're going to take a look at in a couple of minutes. But we'll dive into the box first. So we'll move back the tissue paper and reveal what you get in this month's box. So because we're working with flowers, what I've included in your subscription box this time is some fabulous floral tape. So florists use this, it's a wax tape. Then we have some florist wire, which is green in colour for making 3D projects. We have some of these stamens, which I love. Now they are white, but the tips of them are like a porous kind of a clay. So you can ink these up with your markers, with your glitters, with your ink pads to make them any colour you want to coordinate with your project. Then for tools, we have a double-ended ball tool with a large and a small ball on them. These are for shaping the flowers and petals. Very handy tool. And then, of course, we're going to need our quilling tool. When you take a look at my flowers, I'll explain what the method of quilling is, but this is a handy tool to have for not only creating your flowers, but curling paper. Then we have the little magazine booklet, as I talked about, but of course you get this pack of coordinating cardstock. I love this cardstock because it is curated to match the tones of the projects and the other papers, which I'll show you in a minute, that are contained in the wallet. But what we'll do now is we'll take a look at the booklet that you will receive. So this fabulous booklet is standard in all of the subscription boxes and is full of projects, hints and tips. So you will inside get like, here's a quick hello from me, explains all about what the concept was behind this box set, details of my website, sharoncalliscrafts.com. And there's information then on what to expect in the booklet and details of Papercraft Society. Then we go into the contents, so you'll see the way that it's broken down there about what to expect on each page and details of how you can win a £50 voucher from craftstash. So it's well worth checking that out. Then we're going to move on, and I don't want to give too much away in the booklet, obviously, for those who will be subscribing, but generally you'll find out what's in the box, and then I break down the projects. So for each of the flowers, there's a blossom, there's a fuchsia, and there's a daisy. I will go through each of the flowers in a step-by-step with these handy photos that you can maybe take out of the booklet and put them up on your notice board and follow along. But with the flowers, it's very easy to do because generally once you learn one, you will know how to do them all. So moving on then down the booklet, we'll come to some projects. Again, step-by-step pictures, some hints and tips on how to use the wire in that. And then look at this one. This is one of the bigger ones where you group all the flowers together. Very quick project, lots of hints and tips. And then it's not just myself, though, of course. We've got people like Glynis who will share her creativity. And there are other projects from the design team as well. And then a little bit more about me and my other passion, which happens to be cars. So if I'm not cutting paper, I'm covered in grease. And then details then to see their craft world and how to become a VIP member. And also don't forget to check out the Craftstash VIP Club, which launched recently. So then more projects there. These are 3D, how to use the wire to create floor 3D projects, for decor for your home or creating frames, or if you want to put them on flower crowns, gift boxes. More information there on Papercraft Society. And then you just take a quick flip through. There's just so much to go through. And then some of my top 5 crafty products. So that goes back into the box. And we'll pack away all the contents of the box for the moment because I want to take a look at the wallet and show you the content of that. Okay, so we'll put that box to the side for the moment then, and we'll take a look at the wallet. So as I said, all of the subscription boxes have their own wallet with a handy Velcro fastener to keep everything inside. And on the spine, you'll see it says Papercraft Society Box 42. All of them will be numbered individually, so you can stack that on your shelf and keep it handy in a drawer to pull out if you want to create. And your little booklet would fit nicely in here as well. So we'll open this up then. And don't forget, as it says on the top there, if you do create using the contents of this or other subscription boxes, if you use the hashtag Papercraft Society on your socials, then Papercraft Society will get to see it and share it with their wider social community. Okay, so there's 3 sections to this. So as you can see, so we'll start with the dies. So in this, and I'm just turned up here now so I can reflect it away from the light, you can see I've got 3 flower dies included. And then we have some foliage and some swirls and a hello sentiment die in there as well. I'll bring in some paper here so you can see it a bit better. So on the top then you can see we have some foliage as well, some leaves. And then we're going to see that we have in the center, we have this, it looks like a flower and you can use it as a flower, but it's called a calyx. And that's actually used when you've quilled the flower. You place this underneath it. It hides the workings. So if you want to make a buttonhole or a flower crown, etc., or use wire, it covers the workings. So it gives it a nice, neat, more professional look to the back of your flowers. So as you can see there. And what we'll do then is now, the dies itself are double-sided, and I'll explain further the concept and how these work when you're creating your quilling flowers, because I appreciate that some of you will be used to seeing the single-sided. So we'll pop that in and we'll take out the stamps. So this fabulous stamp set, then I'll just turn it so we have no reflection. So at the top of this, you have 2 intros to your main sentiments. So you have send in best wishes. That could be on your special day, birthday, wedding day, or anniversary. Or you could use especially for you on your special day, birthday, wedding, or anniversary. Then I have some hand illustrated flowers. These are fabulous for creating your backgrounds, adding them to your papers, building them up with your heat embossing, etc. It gives a nice background to your layered flowers and a nice touch to all of your projects. Then we have thank you for always being there for me. May your day bloom with love. When I count my blessings, I always count you twice. And loved you now, loved you then, love me forever. So then we have some decorative panels as well and sending hugs. So these little accent stamps are fabulous. So if you're going to go to the trouble of making a beautiful card and putting it in an envelope, why not decorate your envelope? There are nice trims here for along the edge, or we have for the back for the envelope closers, and they're like little corners. So they add a lovely touch and flourish to your projects. And it's a stamp set that you can use as well, not just with this collection, but use it with your other crafts collections as well. So don't think you have to limit it to what's in the subscription box. Okay, now we're going to move on and have a look at the paper. So I'll just take them out of the plastic wrap here, which your products come in to keep them nice and fresh, but you can discard that. So we have a mix of papers. So first of all, we have our patterned papers, and this is a rose bloom paper. This one is single-sided. So these are your background papers for your project. So that's the rose. Then we have a vintage frame. Then we have a rustic print. And finally, then we have a lovely vintage kind of postcard, postal paper. Okay, so there are your 4 background papers are single-sided. But then we have these petal papers. Now, anybody who has previously bought any of my petal pads will know that these are specially designed for cutting out your flowers, and they are double-sided. When you're using a double-sided quilling die, you do need to use double-sided papers. So this is an ombre tone here. So we've got kind of a red and a green. And then we have the kind of a dark into light green. We have a pastel purple that is an ombre as well that fades in and out, and you can see that reflecting in the light. So this is great for cutting up. And then we go into kind of a lighter, it's a peachy, kind of a cream coloured as well. So you get 2 of each of the petal papers, and you get 4 of the patterned papers in your kit. So they just pop right back into your wallet here. But there's still plenty of room for you to pop in the coordinating cardstock and your little instruction booklet if you want. So then we just pop that together, close it up, and we're going to pop it back in, and then we're going to move on, and I'm going to have a little fun with the box and show you how to make some of the flowers. So hopping along, here we have the set of dies. As I said, you get 3 flower dies in this collection. We have a daisy, a fuchsia, and a blossom, and the relevant foliage that goes with it. Now, these are double-sided dies. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick one. So I think we'll go with the fuchsia die, and we'll take some of the foliage. So I'll go for one of the long leaves and the smaller one. And then we'll take the calyx that I mentioned earlier on. So we just pop those to the side. Then I've got my purple ombre paper, and of course I've got the green as well. So what the green is actually from your coordinated cardstock. So that's a heavier, thicker card, and we need to then decide how much we want to use. So the dies themselves are quite small, so you will get, I'd say, at about 4, maybe 5 to a push flower cuts from the one sheet. So what we need to do then to try and eliminate some of the waste, we're going to trim this paper. So using your scissors and roughly hold the die over it, and that will give you the strip that you need, okay? So this die will actually be placed either upside down, but it goes under. I'm going to use an electronic die cutting machine. You can use a manual one as well. This is A5. The other machines that will work are your small little 3-inch manual little cutting machine. So very versatile die and handy if you're going away on holiday and you can't bring an electronic one, just bring the little one with you and it works fine. So we'll take some of the green cardstock as well to cut our foliage. So again, you just we place the dies down on the magnetic sheet. You just arrange them there. Just place the paper over it. You can use some tape to keep it in place if you think that's necessary. And we'll pop this through our die cutting machine. So okay, so by magic, we've moved on pretty quick. And here we have the die cut. And you see how easy that it just slips out of the die itself. They're quite robust, these dies. So this paper, I've cut up to 300 GSM with them as well. I'm going to keep this bit of green because I can use this later and I'll get more die cuts out of that. So again, we're just going to pop these leaves out of the dies. Put the dies back on your carrier sheet as well so that you don't lose them, or transfer them to a magnetic sheet as well. Just keeps everything in place, and clean out any little bits of paper that might be left over with a pokey tool. So that goes back on the carrier sheet. And then finally we have this smaller piece of foliage. Okay, so our dies are back on the carrier sheet. And then we're just going to put away the plates from our cutting machine. And then what I'm actually going to do is we're going to add some shape and form to these. So I have this block of foam that I actually got in a craft store in the kids craft section where they keep all the foam sheets, and it's a lifesaver, as it's great if I'm using the ball tool. So I'm just going to place the die cut on this, and we'll bring the other pieces up as well so that you can see them a little more clearly. So this is our die cut, and as you can see, it's a double-sided die cut. Now, some people might think this is unusual, and how is this going to make a flower? But trust me, we have the large petals, we have our stamens on this, so this is like an all-in-one flower die. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of colour to the stamens, because stamens generally would be a yellow tone. And I'm just going to get, I have these, they're little chalk inkers. So I'm going to pick the gold one, and very gently, I'm just going to press down on the stamens. And as you can see, I'm getting a good bit of chalky ink on them, leaving the centre free, because if I'm using glue, I want it to adhere. So avoid putting ink on your centre, and then just flip it over and colour the stamens again. Because the stamens are going to be seen from all sides, it's best to colour them on all sides. So then for the petals then, I'm going to add a little bit of extra colour. So I'm just going to use kind of a burgundy, and I'm just going on the tip of the petals, holding the strip in place, but don't pull too hard because you don't want to damage the petals. But I'm only going to do one side, and I'm going to flip it over and then repeat the process, because when I fold this in half, the two coloured sides will be facing up in the same way. It's a process, so you have to trust it, but it does work brilliantly. And also it means that you'll save on some ink. So there's a crease down the centre of this, and this is your fold line. And this is very important. And this is why we use double-sided papers as well. So start at the top and give it a little pinch. Now work your way down the strip, but be careful as well that you don't rip it. If you need help, use your ball tool, like I've done there, and then again, just fold and gently work your way down. A bit fiddly when you've got nails on, but you will get there in the end. Don't pull it too hard, because you don't want to knock off any of the petals as you're working your way along the strip. And then eventually you will get to the bottom and your whole strip is folded in half. And then you'll notice that all the petals that you put ink on are facing the same direction. And it's all perfectly aligned. You see, all the gaps of the layers underneath are covered by the top layer. So you haven't had to cut two layers and put them together. And it's all ready for gluing. It really is a one cut, one fold, one roll method. And just to show you, for people who haven't really seen double-sided dies, I'm just going to grab a piece of card here. You would traditionally have seen these dies. They're single dies. You would have had to cut one, then cut another, layer one over the other, over the gaps, glue that in place, and then it took time for it to dry. And we all know with glue that if you let it dry or you use the red liner tape, it's either bulky, it's out of alignment, and it doesn't really work or comes apart when you quill. With this it won't, because the only glue you're going to use is when we go to quill it. So it's quite simple. It's all aligned for you. You don't need glue between any layers at all. So I'm going to use a liquid glue, but you can use the red liner tape. 3mm I would recommend is the best, because it's the thinnest. So here we go now. We're going to get our strip, and we're going to go and get our quilling tool. So starting on the shortest end where the stamens are, because they're going to be in the centre of your flower, we're going to load it up onto the quilling tool. So starting at the top, just push it on and give it a twist just to secure it in place. Then we're going to hold the quilling tool at the top, and we're going to go and get our glue. We only need a little at the top, like I've done here, in the middle, and down at the bottom. And that is plenty of glue for a small strip like this. And it's a light paper. So we're going to start quilling. And as you can see, do it slowly. The glue will travel down the strip. So that's why you don't want a lot of glue, because it will come out of the ends and come into the petals. And before you know it, you've got messy hands and petals stuck together. So holding the quilling tool lightly and twist. You don't need to wind it tightly at all. Hold it in a light grip. Turn it slowly all the way down to the bottom, and the glue at the bottom will hold it in place. So you keep your finger on it just for a second or two, just till the glue kind of grips and holds it securely. And then we're going to work with the petals. And you see how easy it is? You just push them down. They just move out, they fan out on their own. There is some flexibility in them if you want to move them, left or right a bit. But that's essentially all that you have to do. And as you can see here in the centre as well, our stamen is sticking up. We're just going to fan them out as well. And isn't that absolutely gorgeous? So that is essentially the cut, fold and roll method. Very easy for making this flower. Principle is the same with them all. Now, to take off the quilling tool, don't grab it, don't pull it. Use your nail underneath to pop it off the quilling tool. As easy as that. Okay, so that's the flower. Next, we're going to look at the calyx. So this is what I mentioned earlier about covering the back of your flower. This will give it a neat appearance for you and is great if you want to add buttonholes. So get your ball tool, and then we're going to work on the calyx. But we're going to work at the centre of it so that it cups in on itself. And you'll see this when I start to work it with the ball tool on the foam pad. So just rub the centre, and already you can see that it's starting to curl in on itself. Very easy, very simple to do. And again, if you don't want to use this as a calyx, just pop a bead in the centre, a little bit of glue or a couple of stamens, and you have more flowers. So just press down on the petals as well. Now, here we go. If you can see that, you've got a nice little cup, nice little shape, and you can do a lot with this. And of course, you can cut them out in any colours as well, or even vellums if you want a nice look behind. So turning over our quilt fuchsia, you can see the workings there of the quilling, and it's not very pretty. So this is what we're going to cover. So we're going to get some glue. You can use the liquid glue, or you can use hot glue if you want it to stick quicker. But you simply just pop the calyx over the rear. Now you do need to let this dry for a few minutes, but that's essentially what it does. It gives a nice finish and a nice look to the rear of your flower. So obviously after me holding it now, the petals are a bit squashed again. So just pop it down on your mat and fan out the petals again. These are great if you want to make a box of them, because when you make them, don't fan out the petals, just fill your box with them and you can come back to them later to fan out. Get your foliage, curl it on your nail or with a scissors, and use these, build them up in your background, and then you can place your flower over them and play around with them as well, with colours. But that's essentially how your fuchsia is going to look, and I think it's simply gorgeous. Here is a little daisy that I made. Instructions are in the booklet for this one. Very simple to make also. And then, of course, we have the option of adding stamens to the centre of your blooms. I did this earlier with this fuchsia. Very simple to do, and I'll show you how to add stamens in our next little project coming up now in a moment. Okay, now we are going to have a look at the blossom die. I've gone ahead and I've already die cut this out of the pink and peach ombre toned paper. So we'll take it out of the die itself. Look how easy it just falls out. These dies are absolutely fantastic. So I'll pop that back on the carrier sheet just for safety. And then I'm going to bring in again my foam pad. This is an absolutely amazing piece of foam. So what we want to do then is we're going to add shape to the petals, because I want to have a bloom that opens out, fans out, rather than closes in on itself. So to ensure that it fans out, when I have created the shape, I'm going to quill with the petals down. For a closed cup, you quill with the petal cups facing up. So we're going to start with the strip and start at the bottom. We're just going to press. We're not going to pull, and we're not going to hold the strip, as this might pull off the petals. So press down, and as you can see, it makes them curl up on themselves, and this is what we want. So I'm going to work my way up just one side. I'm not going to do them all. I'm going to stop about halfway up on the medium petals. So that's how we do on that side, but then we flip it over. And when we flip it over, we just repeat the process on more or less kind of the same side that it's looking at us. Again, up to the center point of that. And then if you can see here, when I hold it up, there is a bit of curve on the petals. And this is where we have to be careful when we're folding it. As I said, I want to ensure that when I quill it, the petals are fanning out. So we're going to start and check. So I'm going to fold it along the center and check what way the petal cup or shape is facing. And it's facing down, which is perfect for me, because when it quills, I want to open up the petals and have them kind of turned down. But if I wanted to make it a closed cup where when I quill it, that they kind of close in on themselves, I simply open it up and fold it the other way. So that means then that the cup shape, the bowl shape is facing me, and then when I quill it, it'll all just close in on itself. So I'm happy enough now that the direction that I want is for the petals to fold out the other way. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to fold it back on itself. See here now, open it up again, have a look. And we're going to fold along the center, pinching along the perforated line, being careful not to pull too tight because I don't want to rip off any of the petals. And then when you have it done kind of at the end, just give it a quick rub up and down just to ensure that it's got a nice crease in it, okay? Now, we're going to need for this then our little stamens as well that we mentioned earlier. And I'm going to add a little bit of colour to these because I think they need a bit of a lift. So in again with the messy mat, and I'm going to pick one of my chalks again. This is the gold. I'm placing it on and I'm just going to roll it so that I get the ink or the chalk on all sides. And how easy and simple is that? Do it on both of the ends of the stamen. It's quite absorbent, and because it's a cotton core as well, it picks it up. You can use ink pad. You could dip this in glue, dip it in glitter, flour soft, anything that could add more texture or life to the stamen. The white ones are really kind of like your starting point, so have fun with those. Next, we're going to show you how to add them to your quilling. Now, as I fold them, you can see I'm pinching them there. This is kind of just somewhere that we can grip because we're going to actually trim away any excess later. And it's very important that you use maybe a liquid glue for this, just to ensure they're kept in place. So as before, we're just going to mount the quilling onto the quilling tool and give it a couple of turns. Hold it in place, and then pick up your stamens and kind of hook them over the paper so that they're wrapped around it. But because they're quite long, we want to push them back a bit against the quilling tool. And you can kind of hold them with the quilling tool and give it another turn just to secure it. But we will have to add some glue now at this stage to ensure that they don't move. So put a generous amount of glue in here on the first turn. Oh, glue pot is drying up here under the lights, so give it a little pop here with a dressmaking pin. I love these fine point glue bottles, but they can dry very quickly. So adding a generous amount of glue there to the middle and to the bottom. And then we're holding the stamens in place as we're going to quill. And where it is pulled out there, you can pull it more if you need to. But then we're just going to quill as normal. And they are going to be sticking out. You can pull it back towards you a bit more if you want shorter stamens in your flower. And they should move at this stage for you. So then we're just going to quill the whole way to the end of the strip. As you can see, the stamens are staying in place for you. And when you get to the end of the flower, then you're just going to secure it in place with the little bit of glue again. So just hold it for a moment there for the glue to take. And look, you can already see the stamens popping up and our little blossom. Fan out the petals. And as I said before, the cups are facing down so that it gives a nice spread on the bloom. If you wanted it to be a closed bloom, you could do that by quilling it with the cups facing up towards you. Again, don't pull it off. Use your thumb and push away the quilling tool. And there you can see we have the excess of the stamens on the rear. Just go grab your scissors and simply trim them off. They'll cut quite easily because it's only like a cotton. And then add more glue. Pump it in there where you remove the quilling tool and allow this to dry. And this will secure these for you in place. And now we'll just take a look there. And isn't that gorgeous? Our little blossom. And then, of course, we have our foliage that you would put down on your project and then layer it up, add your bloom, and there she is. Okay, let's put everything together now on a project. What we have here then is just an example of a few of the flowers that I've made. So we have our fuchsias, we have our daisies, our little blossom, of course. So all projects instructions are within the booklet. Lots more you can make because we've got instructions on wire craft as well, how to make flowers for your 3D decor. And more fun then with your stamps for your background and layering. Loads to do in there, so check it out. So what we've done here now is we've made ourselves a 6x6 card base in a 10-fold. I'm just making sure it's the right way around so I don't make one of my usual upside down Australian style cards for you, which happens a little too often in crafting. Then we've taken the green and the pink coordinated cardstock. I've just layered them together. Popped some foam pads on the back because I like the dimension that the foam pads can give to a project. So we're just going to line that up on our card base and pop it down, press it down there to ensure that there's good adhesion. I've made a topper with some white cardstock, some of the lighter green ombre papers. I love the tones that it gives. And then, of course, in the center, we have our rose print. So again, we're going to pop this onto the card front. But what I'm going to do as well with this is I want to add a little bit of inking around the edges just to give it a little bit of a lift. So I'm taking some of it's kind of a fern green chalky ink, just lightly rubbing around the edges of the cardstock. I think it gives it a nice little lift, a little of a rustic look as well. So once you've done that, then we're just going to peel off the foam pads off the back and we're going to stick this down in the center of the card. Quite simple. Just pop it there in the center and press it down to make sure that it has stuck. And then we're going to start layering up our flowers and sentiment on this. This is a gorgeous little card. You can make little notelets with this as well. So for the sentiment then, I took my stamp on just a rectangular piece of cardstock and may you bloom with love. But what I'm going to do with this as well is I'm going to ink up around the edges. Now, I've just cut rectangular card with this. Of course, if you have your nesting dies, your tag dies, you could cut this out and have fun with it. Add a little bit of ribbon to it or add a couple of the little brads that we all seem to have stuck in our craft stash somewhere. Okay, we're going to add this to the card now, but I want to add a bit of shape to it. So I'm just kind of curling the corners up on the edges before I add it to the card. And I'm going to place it up in the top corner. But to keep the dimension, I'm actually going to use some 3D gel. Now, these are available in a lot of craft stores, silicones and that. They dry within 15 to 20 minutes. So they're quite handy and give you maneuverability too when you want to move things around. So that's our sentiment that's in place. And now we're ready in this area to start layering up our flowers and our foliage. So we're starting with the foliage. So you can add a little bit of shape to these, with your ball tool or with your hand. Just use a little bit of the glue on the back. And basically, we're just putting down a layer, a kind of a mat and background for our flowers. So not being too particular, just splay them out, in a nice way. They don't have to be on top of each other either. So there's another one, and that's kind of like the fuchsia one. It's cut with the Petal Perfection papers as well. So it gives it a lot of different tones and textures, which is quite nice. You could also do the foliage if you wanted in just plain white cardstock and ink them up with your inks and your pads and your sprays as well. So pop that one down there, a little bit of dimension. Okay, and then we're going to move on, and I think we'll add one more. Yeah, we'll add one more just to fill out the background there. I think that one there going up. Yeah, that's beautiful there now. So there is our foliage in the background. And we have a little bit there in the corner, so I'm just going to pop that down just to fill that, just to draw your eye into there. Perfect. Okay, so this is our fuchsia with the stamens in it. So as this looks like the largest flower, I'm going to put that in the center, but I'm going to actually use 3D gel. So it allows me to kind of move it about for a little while. Now, you could leave it at that because I think that's absolutely gorgeous. The foliage fills it in. But since we've made our little blooms, we may as well pop them on a project. So this is the fuchsia we made with the calyx. That's popped kind of underneath the larger one, you see there? And we haven't spread out the petals too far, so it's not as expanded. Then we take our blossom, again with the 3D gel, and I'm going to tuck that into there. Perfect. Set that in. As I said, you can wiggle these around with the 3D gel. This is the daisy. This is done with just the white cardstock and it's inked up. So again, if you run out of papers, you still have plenty of time. And we could add one more, but I think it might be a little overcrowded for there. So I think I will leave this one off and keep that for another project. Yeah, because I think it's enough. I think we've added enough to this. So there it is, a lovely simple card that you can do with these flowers. So easy to achieve, so easy to play around with. And again, add your own style to these. Add your own spin, add your glitters, add your buttons, add your sprinkles and your glitters. You can cut these dies as well, not just with paper, but with vellum. If you have cotton fabrics and you use fabric stiffener on them, you can cut out of that as well. There are some felts that you can get that are generally the cheaper end of the market. They're stiffer, geared towards children's craft. Perfect for this as well. And if you have some rice papers as well, just say you're making little cakes or buns, why not experiment with that? But I would recommend that you thoroughly cleanse the dies beforehand. Maybe tell people that they're not edible, but they are there for decoration. So I hope you enjoyed the demonstrations today and looking at the subscription box. Again, it's www.papercraftsociety.co.uk, where you can choose between a month-to-month subscription, a 3-monthly subscription, a 6-monthly subscription, or a yearly subscription. So the more you subscribe for, the more you save on individual boxes, and it is well worth it because you're getting the creme de la creme of craft designers participating. Every month you will get a different box delivered to your door. And remember that you can also visit my socials. I'm at Sharon Callis Crafts across all platforms. I have a Facebook group called Sharon Callis Crafts Creative Group. We'd love to have you there, where you can keep up to date with new product releases, my show times on Hobby Maker TV. You'll also get like sneak peeks of upcoming products, and then I'll have some special guests that will be popping in to share with you their projects as well. So thank you so much for watching along today. Really appreciate the love and support. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Sharon Callis here on YouTube. And I am delighted to have had you today, and thank you. And I hope to see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.